Shabbat Shalom. Today we came to the end of the book of Leviticus. And in communal settings, we would have said together, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. When the Torah reader comes to the final verses of the book, this is what Ashkenazi Jews say. Translated, it means, be strong, and let us strengthen one another. What does it mean? And from where does it come? Well, as with most things Jewish, the answer isn't absolutely clear. And that, of course, is what makes it so compelling. In the Sephardic tradition, they say something similar, but after every single aliyah to the Torah. Sephardic Jews say, Chazak ubaruch, be strong and be blessed. Ashkenazi Jews, after each aliyah, usually say something similar to be strong, but it's yesher koach, that you should have abundant koach. It's another word for strength. But at the end of each of the 5 books of the Torah, we say this particular phrase. So I went on a little hunting mission to discover where it comes from. And sure enough, it doesn't come from one place. It's an amalgam, a stitch together of several places in our Torah. Nothing actually in the Torah itself, but rather in the books of the prophets and writings. At the very beginning of the prophets in the book of Joshua, Moses has passed on, and Joshua now has to lead the people into the promised land. It must have been a terrifying time. This, we think, is the seeds of this expression. 4 times in Joshua chapter 1 alone, at verse 6, 7, 9, and 18, Joshua is told, Chazak ve'ematz, be strong and courageous. 4 times. A lot of strength and a lot of courage was needed by Joshua and the people to make that incredible transition across the Jordan River, having just said farewell to Moses. What a time. Later on, in the book of Samuel, chapter 10, verse 12, King David's general, Yoav, is preparing to go into battle against the Ammonites. And he says, let us be strong. Let us both be strong. Chazak v'nit chazek, he says to his high-placed soldiers. So far we have Chazak ve'ematz, Chazak v'nit chazek. Much later, in the book of Daniel, we have another appearance of the phrase. Daniel is told, my beloved man, peace be to you. This is an angel speaking. Grow strong and even stronger. A sense of chazak vetit chazak. Grow strong and make yourself stronger. If you haven't noticed already, no place does it actually say chazak, chazak venit chazek. But in these settings, as we stitched this idea together, we see times where physical strength was needed and times where spiritual strength was needed. And I think that's something very profound as we come to the end of each of our 5 books of the Torah. We're saying that we don't only rely on physical or military strength, as in the story of King David's generals and soldiers, but nor do we only rely on strength of the spirit. Joshua really is told to embody both. But it isn't just enough for him to be strong. We had to add the additional piece of people making themselves strong and extending that strength to others. The Jewish body and spirit have always had to work together. We champion strength of the physical as well as strength of the spiritual. We can't have one without the other. Throughout our history, we have worked to be an integrated whole, and for the most part, that has served us pretty well. We are not an ascetic religion. We're not a culture of denial. We love food and wine and pleasures of the body. Without those, how would we be fruitful and multiply? And we could never really embrace our famous toast and our famous way of life, l'chaim, to life. In order to do that, though, we need to be strong of body and of spirit. Chazak, chazak v'nit chazek ties together these different traditions to teach us to be both of those things. Now, in this ongoing crisis, which we don't seem to be able to escape at all, some of us may be finding that our strength is flagging a little bit. I know that mine has on a few occasions. I am incredibly grateful, as I hope you are too, to have the chance to put our energies into sacred work, to creating community, though it takes a different kind of strength in this time, but to continue to create community in all the ways that we are good at, through song, through prayer, for remembering one another, for reaching out using the technology of the time, and for always being innovative and adaptable. That is one of the absolute critical characteristics of the Jewish people. We have been innovative and adaptive every step of the way. But let's face it, this is hard, and there are times when keeping our energies and our spirits up, it's just a lot. So how do we stay strong? How do we stay with a sense of chazak ve'ematz in this time? Well, by now we know how important good food, exercise, good friends, and reaching out and beyond our little spheres of existence, how important that is for keeping us strong and vital. Maybe it's a different kind of exercise or a different kind of food, but it's a time to look at what is most nourishing for ourselves. And when it's too much, yes, take a good rest. That's the theme of this Parshat and the end of the book of Leviticus. These incredible instructions to give the land a rest every 7th year, that sabbatical year, and then every 50th year. To what extent it was ever celebrated, we're not sure. But the ideal of the Jubilee year, when people and property would revert to their original families and owners. These were incredible innovations, knowing that every once in a while, everything needed to rest, recharge, and reboot. All of those activities together keep us strong and whole, even in times when we might find that we feel a little bit weak and our strength is faltering. There's one story I'd like to share with you before signing off today, and that is a story of incredible strength, incredible superhuman resilience. These stories are few and far between, and that's what makes them so miraculous. But this is the story of, as it happens, a friend of friends of ours here in Los Angeles. His name is Greg Garfield, and as of this week, Greg has been declared recovered from the coronavirus. Greg was one of the first people that we knew of from America who was struck with coronavirus. He got it in Italy on a skiing trip with 13 of his friends more than 2 months ago. They all came down with coronavirus and were tested positive. Greg suffered the worst, and during his 64-day battle with the virus, he spent more than a month on a ventilator. His chances of survival were less than 1%. The other day, after prayers from all over the world, including friends of ours in Andy's community who know him, Greg, with the help of his sister and girlfriend, stood up and walked out of St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank. Some of you might recognize St. Joe's. It's the same hospital whose team of incredible surgeons and doctors saved Andy's life 7 months ago. Providence St. Joseph's in Burbank now has another miracle to add to its archives. Greg Garfield, miracle survivor of coronavirus. Greg was in great shape going into this terrible ordeal. Please God, the repercussions won't be too terrible for his health going forward. But for right now, he is a symbol of strength, courage, and resolve. as we pray for all of those whose strength is flagging during this time of coronavirus, let us connect to one another, send strong positive energies out to the world, and say to one another, Chazak, Chazak, venit chazek. Be strong, and we will strengthen one another. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Join us next week as we begin the book of Numbers. Shabbat Shalom.